Everybody, welcome to my podcast. I'm beginning my new audio book, which is called Buckets of Love. And in Buckets of Love, I talk about how to fix your relationship where it's not working. I started writing this book because I started to realize that we all have different buckets of love, and if we have certain buckets we need filled and our partner needs certain buckets they need filled and we don't fill them, we start to getting into trouble. And these buckets can vary during the course of the relationship. So there's lots of buckets of love, and I'll just tell you quickly what they are. So the most important one, I think, is the love bucket, and that is the way and how we love the person. There's a physical bucket, and that's the expression of us in a physical way of our love. The mental bucket, the spiritual bucket, the romantic bucket, which when you're in a partnership like this is important. The parental bucket, the friend bucket, the morality one, family bucket, lifestyle bucket, and fun bucket. And all these buckets are really, really important because these are the areas that start to go wrong, and these are the areas that we can find out more about our partner and ourselves and actually fix them. And the first one I'm going to talk to you about is the love bucket. I actually believe this is the most important bucket of all, because without the love we really don't have anything. And the most important thing to understand is that in this bucket it will vary. So when we first meet, particularly in a romantic relationship, it's very quick, and we often do fall in love quite quickly. Sometimes it can be infatuation. We can be infatuated with someone, but we usually know that it's infatuation because it doesn't last. And infatuation is just usually from a distance, whereas this kind of love is very quick. You will hear people saying that they just met the person, they knew they were the right one, and they would just know it. It's like a knowing, it's the connection. When you have the love bucket working, everything works, but there are various problems that can happen within this bucket, and I want to talk about that. So the first thing to understand is that if you love somebody and they don't love you back, you're not going to be nurtured. That's the biggest thing you need to understand. You won't be nourished. It's not really important to be loved. It's great if you are loved, but it's more important to, if you want to be happy, to actually love the person a lot. And when you love someone, that brings you happiness. And the fact that they love you back, of course, adds to your happiness. Everyone has, I call, little buckets of how much they can love. Not everybody loves to the same degree in their actual personality, also in their genetics, I think. And some people love as big as a bucket, and some people love as big as a thimble. You need to understand with your partner whether your love that you have for each other is equal. You can usually feel this. You can feel if you're the one who loves more or they love you more. And this creates a disparity in the relationship. When you first meet, I think you're both probably pretty much in love and adore each other. It's all very fresh and wonderful. However, as time passes, sometimes that can change, and people can't work out why it's not working anymore. And it's because you love each other in different degrees now. I've always maintained that the person who loves the least has the most power in the relationship. Because when you're the person who loves the most, somehow, I don't know, you want to please them, and they have more power over you because they don't love you as much. And maybe you have a little bit more need because of your love. I feel that's a really important thing to understand. Everyone usually knows who the person who loves the most, and we don't always love exactly equally, I don't think. I think that's just a romantic vision of love. I feel that often there's one person who loves us a little bit more than the other, and this can create problems within the relationship as we go along, because the one who's not being loved as much doesn't feel as nourished. And sometimes the one who's being loved a lot can feel a little bit smothered. So I want you to have a look at that in your relationship and try and figure out where you stand and where your partner stands in that one. The other area to really consider is the type of love. Some people love unconditionally, and some people love conditionally, and some people love in both ways. And for you to understand yourself first, are you a person who loves conditionally? For example, you love them when they all do it right and they do as they're told, but when they don't do as they're told, you don't love them. You withdraw the love and you punish. That's conditional love. It is still love, but it has conditions to it. So if we don't do as we're told, the love's taken away and we're deprived. Unconditional love is different. When we love someone unconditionally, we love them and we might get cranky or angry with them when they upset us, but the love remains and we don't actually withdraw it. We might withdraw for a little while to, have a little time to think or to be angry or to look at our wounds because we're wounded now by them. That's something that they said or did. But we still actually love them underneath all that, and that's unconditional love. I had to learn this probably the hard way in my marriage. I believe that I love my partner unconditionally. However, I do believe that my partner loved me conditionally. And it's no one's fault, really. It's just the way it goes. You'll find that if people come out of conditional families where they loved each other conditionally, they will actually have learned how to do that. And because they're being taught what love is to them is you do as you're told, and if you don't do as you're told, to take the love away. However, if you're a person who loves unconditionally, you remain loving throughout it all. And it's more easy to forgive, I think, when you love unconditionally. Once you work out where your partner and you are in this area, that will make a lot of sense for you. So you could discuss that. Is it conditionally that you love me or unconditionally? There are also variants in that some people have a little bit of unconditional love and a lot of conditional, or you can have a lot of unconditional love and just a little bit of conditional love. It can go both ways. And you'll just have to have a look at that and decide first how you love and then how your partner loves you back. I feel the most important love is unconditional. And this is the one that usually, if both people love each other unconditionally, those relationships seem to last. And there's a lot of forgiveness in those relationships and a lot of tolerance and a lot of compassion. And the needs of one another are met quite well when you love in that way. This size difference makes a big difference in this area too, how much they love you conditionally or unconditionally. The other thing that happens is if you are with someone, it's also how you express your love. If you've ever been lucky enough to read The Five Languages of Love, I think that's what it's called, that book really clearly states how different people show love. I think people have different ways of showing love. I agree with a lot of what was said, and for many of us, we'll do it. We express our love in certain ways. It's important to understand how you express your love. Are you a person who says things, or you're very physical, or do you give presents, or do you go and fix things for the person, or do you try and make them feel loved by giving them surprises? It's important for you to understand how you give love, because I think how you give love is probably how you would like to receive love. If you're a person who's always giving presents, you probably like to get gifts. And if you're a person who likes a lot of quality time and like to sit and talk to each other all the time, that's how you will find love is expressed by you. And you probably like if someone else expresses love that way. I think this is an important thing to talk to your partner about, how they feel loved, like what is love to them and how the expression of love is for them, and then how you feel loved, and you can talk to them about how love feels for you, what you like to have happen for you. Everyone's very, very different, and I think until we understand our partner, what they want and what we want, we can't really meet their needs, can we? So that's a really important one, that you end up knowing how to meet your needs, and that will make a big difference to how you do it. So these love buckets and the way that we love people and the type of love and the measure of love that we have for the person and they have for us is a good place to start when you start talking about the love bucket, because your bucket can be full or your bucket can be quite empty, and this is going to have huge impact on your relationship. If you feel very loved by the person, if you're a person who feels that they are meeting your needs from a love angle, you will feel nourished and happy. However, if you feel that they love you, but they're not meeting your needs in terms of filling your buckets, you will feel always a little bit on the empty side and not so nourished. And that's why it's really important to have open dialogue with one another about what love means to both of you. The worst kind of love is when people come to that point in the relationship when they say, I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. I feel that's just it's almost as awful as when people, they just say, I'd like to be friends when you don't want to be friends. It's got that same feel to it. And if you get to that place in a relationship, you really need to start doing a lot of work on your relationship, because that type of I love you but I'm not in love with you, she seems to show that the magic has been gone for a while, and you might need to really start to shore up the sides. We can fix up the love bucket, but you have to do some work on it, and you have to start to, if you're a person who doesn't give a lot of love, you need to start giving it more. Many people love us, but they don't give the love, and I want you to have a look at that one, because loving someone is not the same as giving them love. I have met people in my life who I knew loved me, but they didn't give the love, and that was a bit of a power control thing on their part, I believe. However, I continued to give the love. I just gave it unconditionally, and you'll find people who love conditionally will usually withhold. It's one of the parts, unfortunately, of conditional love, that they don't always give it. But however, I do want you to see that it's still there. It still exists. It's just their ability to give is compromised to quite a degree. Write down with your partner what are the things that make you happy in terms of being loving and expressing love. Write down whether you think you love conditionally or unconditionally, and really start to look at yourself. Write down what you need from your partner in terms of love, and how you need to make some of the areas stronger and bigger, and that person really starts to meet your needs, because love is an actual need that we have in a relationship. And when the love starts to falter, the relationship usually falters. It's almost like the strongest part of this relationship, and that's why it's very important that you speak to each other and show that you love each other in the way that the other person needs it. Remember, it's not about always what you need, it's about meeting their need, their love need. That's what you're trying to do. And then obviously they're going to try and meet your love need. So go away after this session and start to think about these pivotal things in your love relationship and see if you can work on them. So it's the quality of the love, conditional, unconditional, the expression of love, that's important, the expression, and the amount of love, because that's actually important. And if you are a person who's falling out of love with your partner, you need to maybe have a look at some of your other emotions, which might be anger and hurt, because they will actually numb it out and blank it out. So you might want to work around expressing your anger or hurt to them and getting rid of it so you can forgive each other, and then the love can grow big. So I wish you luck with the love bucket. It's a really important bucket. I love the love bucket, but I love to love. I like that song. So I hope that this has helped you, and I hope that you can work with your partner to improving this part.